Welcome to the Quasi Show. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Hi, Marianne. I'm very well. How are you? And what's new in your world?
What a week it has been. I think it's all planetary. I put everything down to the sky because I live in the sky, really. That's where my reality is. I don't like to live down here. It's too scary. Um,
Okay, that's
so I live in the wholeness of the universe, So, yeah, so today we're going to talk about change.
yes,
The
change.
reason I want to talk about this is, and I think you do too, because we discussed it, is that it's because September is the month of change. Not only the seasons change, but also in numerology and a lot of modalities, September is the time that the coin flips into almost a snippet in October of the following 12 months. So
Oh,
numerology.
hang on a minute, Marianne. We've just been through enough change. Are you telling me we're going to have more in September?
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
excellent.
it's almost the pinnacle of the year. So whatever you haven't dealt with or you've been putting off, September's really the time to stand in that power and do it. It's like this, like let's say that somebody's going through, I'll just do a basic science of numerology, right, for example, on change. So if September, say you're in a 9 month, which is the end of a cycle, and September will be that 9 month, right? And so it's almost like shining the
Oh,
light
yeah.
on. So whatever you haven't dealt with will be, this is your chance. Otherwise, if you go into a 1 year new beginning the next year, which is also the beginning of the next 9 year cycle, you'll get hit quite hard with it. It's like, when are you going to wake up? So change is not only invite change, but embrace it. Really embrace it, because here's another thing I'm dying to say,
Yeah.
that I'm so excited because I've just cleared up so much stuff this week and had so many clients this week about the same subject of feeling stuck and moving through stuff.
Yep.
I'm so glad that I do what I do. So you deal with conscious creators. And the point is that everything that scares you about change or scares us about change, it comes down to one thing, and that is self-worth.
Yeah, yeah, it does, 100%. And I had my own experience of that this week, which I've already shared with you privately, Marianne, but needless to say, quite a bit of change going on in my world in logistical sense, and something a lot of women also can associate with is their kids have left home and you go through that transition, and you want to make change, you want to create change in your world, but something's often holding you back. You like the things the way they are, there's a fear around it, and that can create some conflict. So I had a bit of conflict in my little world this week, and along with it came some massive realizations about self-worth and how what you put out in the world is often those things that you really don't want to put out, your self-doubt, your self-questioning, your fears, and they come bouncing back to you in
They're the
a physical
filters.
manifestation.
Yes, because if they're the filters that you're looking at life through and you're not conscious of them, this is why people have so much suffering when they're not doing the work. When you just read a self-help book and go, oh yeah, I'm all good, or you go and have one session with somebody and say, oh yeah, I'm on track now. It's like, no, you're not. It's a practice. It's a way of life, and it's a lifestyle. And so change is the only thing that's consistent. Well, if there is no change in somebody's safe little world, it means they're not growing, right?
Yeah. There's either entropy or atrophy. So you're either
Yes.
growing and changing and adapting, or a little bit of you slowly dying inside.
That's right, Mary. And that's where, depression sets in and people wish things could be different, but they're not prepared to step into that uncomfortableness for whatever period of time till you move through it. And, like somebody said to me the other day, is the most, whatever you've had the most resistance on, or what's been the most challenging, has it also been the most rewarding? Which is yes,
Well, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I found myself in quite a state this week, as many of us often do, like
Yes,
an emotional.
I got the text, Mary. It was
an emotional state. It was a big state. I was a little bit annoyed about the idea of being consciously aware, because it's a problem. And no, it's not a problem. At times it's painful. It is painful. So I did exactly the things that we've talked about, Marianne. I sat there in my pain and my misery, and I had a good cry, and I could feel it physically. It actually did back to feeling like needles being stuck into me, and I realised that I'm doing this to myself. But the release that came afterward and has remained, I have this amazing peace of mind at the moment.
Exactly. It's calm and balanced when you get through the other side, which only takes a couple of processes to really look at that self-inquiry. But it's about taking responsibility for just what you said. I'm actually doing this to myself.
I know. Like you go, what? Wow, slap on the forehead. Doing this to myself.
Well, we don't intentionally do it.
We don't. I know, but we continually do it.
Yes, but that comes from our programming, right? So it's just handing back that story to know that it's not yours, it never was. And often, we take on these, beliefs because we weren't in our authority as children. We gave all our power away. Please feed me, love me, clothe me, tell me I'm good enough. And so we kept this ego sort of centric way of living going in the world, and it's really our demise at the end of the day. And unless we grow up emotionally, we're just all children and walking around in big adult bodies, right?
Big adult bodies, yep. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so everything comes down to self-worth, and change will trigger fear and resistance the most, depending on the level of self-worth.
Yes. Perhaps we could take a little break, Marianne, and come back and talk a little bit more about self-worth.
Okay.
And yes. Okay.
Okay, we'll be back in one moment. Welcome back.
Welcome back. So, Marianne, I had a good idea about self-worth just before the break, and then I promptly forgot what it was. So in the break, I said to you, I've been practicing self-love all this time.
Self-worth, yeah.
Oh, so self-love. I've been going, I love myself. I like who I am.
And I clearly corrected you by saying, well, no, you thought you were, but you were operating through a filter that you discovered your big aha this week, that you weren't worthy. So,
I know.
So that's not actually, so it's amazing how our ego thinks, oh, yes, I'm a spiritual being having this human experience, and I'm practicing self-love. I've been practicing for a long time as well, and then another little piece will come up. But guess what? As you said before the break, the outcome of that and the consequences of having a consistent practice, you just become lighter and fuller and more whole and more complete. And the more that you fill your emotional bank into the I'm responsible for loving me, no one else, then you feel so good about yourself, your cup runneth over, and you have more to give authentically.
Yes, more authentically. And I tell you what it feels like right now. It feels effortless.
Yes.
Like it's so hard to explain in words, but it's such a beautiful feeling. I'm having a lot of fun right now.
Yeah, you don't have an agenda.
No.
So when we have
I feel like that need to please.
Yes.
And the need to get approval.
I know.
I mean, a recognition. Well, it's all just gone.
It's great, isn't it? It's great.
It's wonderful. it's wonderful, and it's really left me thinking, what have I been doing all this time? Like, I know it's a process. I understand it's a process, and I'm grateful for every little step along the way that I've taken. And I know that the self-practice will need to continue, but it's continuing now from a completely different foundation.
Exactly, and it's so beautiful. And another thing about that too is when people validate themselves. I just created this little audio this morning about, I was lying in bed and I had this vision of my higher self looking down at a pain point, an emotional pain point, and saying to myself, I love you, Marianne, for feeling that, or I love you, Marianne, for experiencing or working through this. And I love you, Marianne, for being talented in that area. Oh, hang on. Someone's at the door, one moment. Hi there, welcome back. Sorry, that was a curveball. The courier turned up. So we've really lost our place. But it's
given we haven't really, Marianne, because we've just had to adapt to some change.
Exactly. And so that's an interesting piece, Mary, because people get thrown curveballs all the time, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Life doesn't, things happen, stuff happens, lots of stuff happens. People get sick, people leave us, people
die
away. Yeah,
that's what you're avoiding. I could hear it.
I don't want to come straight out with that, like people die.
We might have a financial commitment that all of a sudden gets sprung on us, or yes, it's all about survival stuff, isn't it?
Kids leave home. That's a really, really big moment. Do you know I was thinking about this the other day too. You used to talk about menopause, my mother back in the day, as being the change in life, a change of life, change of life. And now we talk about it as menopause. But the reality is there is a lot of things that are changing for women during this period. And
why don't you bring that up?
Because I don't know.
So the change of life. Okay, yes, that's a really old-fashioned thing. My mother.
Old-fashioned.
Yeah. So now it's menopause. I always say to women that if you haven't dealt with your stuff for the time you go through menopause, it will deal with you. Because, oh man, I tell you what,
good point.
It will deal with you. And so, yeah, it's so important, isn't it? It's an emotional change, but men go through it too. Did you know, Mary?
Yes. Yeah, I think they start earlier and take longer.
Yeah, they just, as soon as they get to about mid-40s, they start turning into attention vampires, really.
Attention vampires, yeah, indeed they are. It is a time for both males and females where your identity changes, or who you think you are begins to change with your experience parenting. All of a sudden your kids are probably old enough to make their own decisions, so you've lost that level of control, so that freaks a lot of people out.
Listen to you must have been a control freak mother. Level of control. I can't talk. I don't have kids. I would have been a psychopath. I tell you, if anybody tried to harm my children, I would have probably been in jail. So that's probably why I don't have kids. So let's go back a little step here, Mary. I can't believe that I'm actually taking you back for once. When it comes to self-worth and change, we've got a whole new generation of really awake, aware, conscious people. If you look at, your youngest daughter even, I'm sure she's a lot more consciously awake than you were at that age. And so we're dealing with a new evolution of consciousness where people in this era right now, even though you're talking about people in their 40s and 50s, they didn't have the privilege of spiritual awakening as much as the people in their 20s and 30s do now. So we're looking at a whole different group of people that are waking up so quickly that they are suffering with self-worth, just like the 40 and 50-year-olds. But everybody has now this beautiful opportunity to start looking within, start learning the love self mastery, because that's all it comes down to. Because let's use an example.
Yeah.
If you honestly, now somebody's drilling outside my door. Let's just go with that.
Drilling down. Drill down.
Drill down. It will drill down. So let's say that there was a person that had no self-worth and change happened very quickly. Like, so let's say they lost their job, and all of a sudden they would be in fetal position, they would be distressed, they would be all of these things. But if the same person had a lot of self-worth and lost their job, it wouldn't hardly twinge them that much. It would be, probably inconvenient, and they'd probably look at it as an opportunity to go and get something better. So can you see how self-worth plays this massive part in change?
It does. And just touching on the young people out there, there was an article that my husband drew my attention to the other day about, how the level of self-harm with young people, how 14, 15-year-old girls in particular, is at epidemic levels. And as we know, that is to do with self-worth, and they're bombarded by material across the internet, magazines, media, of how they should be, how they should look, what they should be engaging in, all they should be doing. So it's really, really important for anybody that's in contact or engaged with, or has a young person in their sphere, to help them nurture their own self-worth from a very young age, and encourage them to feel good about themselves just as they are, without comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have a situation with a client at the moment, and the whole family has been affected by one parent's lack of self-worth, and it's really triggered all the women in the family, the young girls, they're only 14 and 16, and the mother. And so I said to them this morning, do you know, guys, this is a wonderful opportunity, and perhaps what Dad is showing you is that we all need to take responsibility for our own self-worth, instead of going into the shame game and the blame game and all of these sorts of things. So, at the end of the day, goodness me, I have to practice self-worth every day, and I believe that everyone should. And how do we practice that, Mary? What does that look like? And it's really about saying to yourself, you are not your parent's story, and breaking the rules and getting out of the boxes and the identities that society says is acceptable or not acceptable, and going back and finding your own authority.
Yeah, okay, so it's what's really important in that is going back in. Like my personal experience of it, and what we've talked about on these, is that you actually have to accept possibly the painful parts of it, accept that that what is happening around you, you potentially are doing that internally to yourself as well. So it's like forgiving yourself of all the things that you have said to yourself, the things that you beat yourself up about. Forgiveness, using forgiveness every single day, and gratitude internally. So forgiving yourself for all the times you've beaten up on yourself in the last 5 minutes, because you've probably done it plenty, and being grateful for the amazing parts of you, your compassion, your understanding, your ability to share, for the parts of your body, your toes, your fingers, your eyes, your hair, all those things. That's how we dig down and find our authority.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Mary. And I said to a client the other day, she's going to use September as a self-soothing September, where she's not going to she has an addict identity. And you know that I run a group online that's about the addict identity, and we've all got one, and it's about the shadow. And so she's going to, for the first time, start to practice having a healthy relationship with herself, hanging out with herself, enjoying getting to know herself without taking drugs. And so it's, she's taking herself to yoga every day. She's going canoeing. She's over in Canada. So, and she's just doing all these things. She's writing, journaling, cooking good meals, and just really having this real buzzy time with herself. And this is a commitment for 1 month, but she's never done.
That's a great name that you've got there, Marianne. Self-Soothing September. I think we should.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Play with it
I was gonna copy it. I actually created it, but handed it to her. But we could actually do it. Self-Soothing September. But it is a time of, it's very difficult for us to have self-compassion and all of these things if we don't bother to be our own best friend.
Yeah.
Really hold the space for ourselves and say, hang on a minute. I've had
and that is what we're here to find out. That's what we're here to find out, who we're being, and being our own best friend is a great way to discover that.
Exactly. And so many people go around doing, right?
Yeah.
And if I do that, I'll get that acceptance. If I do that, I'll be worth it. If I do that, then people will notice me. If I do that. But no. Stop all of that and just start being and stuff anybody else, really.
Indeed. Well, you don't have, maybe not stuff them, but I tell you, your relationship with them, whatever you thought was conflict that they were bringing into your world, your relationship with them will change.
Yes, into a good way. I was meaning stuff people that have the judgment on another because they are living in the trap of society's rules and the matrix to put someone down. And here's another thing about that. If that is showing up in our world, we have to own that too. Because that means we're projecting something out there that says we're not acceptable about something we're doing. So it's all about us.
It is.
The self, the worth, the love, the worth, everything's about us. We're all narcissists. It's all about us.
Very good. All right.
We'll be back in one moment.
Cheers.
Welcome back.
Right. We're going to talk a bit more about change.
Yeah, so positive
change. All change is good, isn't it, Marianne?
Well, I think so. Depends how you look at it. You've got positive change and negative change if you live in a world of duality. But I think it's important to note that who we're being, if we're being a person of practicing self-love, self-worth, then we're going to create, not attract, because our beingness will be a vibration. So we will create opportunities to come to us that are of a positive nature. If we're not practicing self-worth and self-love and we've got really low self-worth or self-esteem, or the change might come up upon us that will be what we would describe as lack, negative, or being in victim mentality. Create more victim mentality, aren't you?
Yeah. So how do we frame that if something happens that seems to be outside our control, someone close to us dies or becomes sick, and that creates a ripple effect of change that we don't want to experience, that we resist, or we feel sad about?
So you go and do something about it to increase your self-worth so you don't feel such a big it's natural to be devastated, to be traumatized, to grieve. You've got to go through that process. However, if it's like you're not functioning in the world because it's brought up so many insecurities or fear in you or lack, then it means there's some work to be done on the self.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
So
good.
how do we adjust to that then? What are
Well,
the steps we need to do?
well, I believe that, you know, if something presents itself that's quite devastating, everything, and I know it sounds crazy, and you know, when we lose somebody really close to us, it's just impossible to think there could be a blessing in disguise, or whatever
Mm,
the case may be. But we must also appreciate that life and, you know, birth and death is a process of life. So how are we going to take the blessings from that person's place in our
yeah.
hearts? How are we going to harness that energy, work through the grief, and then
Find the spots of
yeah,
gratitude. Find
yeah,
those in
yeah,
amongst the grief. There'll be little moments of laughter, and we can focus on those and try and expand them out a little bit, or sit with those before we let the grief
yeah,
or fear
yeah.
overwhelm us.
So stepping away from change being so devastating,
Yeah,
as far as losing somebody, if we can step into a new vibration of change, let's say that you are changing your lifestyle and you're going from a lifestyle of, say, the addict identity into living and being creative, or you're changing your lifestyle from living in one place and going and doing something else, or traveling around, or whatever you're going
yeah,
to do, or you're going to step into a new career and all of those things. So that can bring up some insecurities, but just know it is honestly the most brilliant process to up level and work through it and step into your power. I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Stepping into your authority, stepping into your power.
yeah. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because all those things there you've just said, they're things that I've certainly been experiencing: a change of lifestyle, a change of family dynamics, and all around the edges of it, you feel that there's an unknown. The unknown is there, so that's the scary part. There's that unknown, and you step into it and you think, oh, how's that going to do? And it gets a little bit overwhelming. Well, there isn't any other way. There might be other ways. You could, as you have said, Marianne, you can go and reach for the wine bottle and or pull the covers over your head and try and ignore it all, but it won't go away for long. Um, so it's important to embrace even the unknowns.
Absolutely. And here's a way to look at an unknown. It's look at it as a curious child, as the wonder. Oh, I wonder what's round that corner. Oh, I wonder.
Yeah,
Oh,
nice.
oh, I
Yeah,
wonder what will happen. Oh, I wonder how this is going to turn out. Oh, I wonder. And when
yeah,
you
that's great.
wonder, it is a beautiful vibration, and that curiosity will move you forward in excitement. And even when you say, "Oh, I wonder," you get this smile on your face. You can't help but
Yeah,
lift
I do.
energy. It's like saying, "I live in a wonderful world." Right? So how can you look at a world that's not wonderful if you're saying it's a wonderful world?
Yeah. Oh, I wonder. I like that. That's a very nice gift to our listeners today, Marianne. You've come up with a good one there. Oh, I
Yeah, well,
wonder.
I didn't. It just sort of came through me, Mary. It's
I
how
think
it
it's
works.
nice.
I wonder how that happened.
I wonder.
Have you ever caught yourself that you're in a situation and then you're thinking, I wonder actually how I got here? Like, you know, when things happen so fast,
Often.
and sometimes change happens so fast, and we progress so fast when we have an intention out there, and it's like, oh my goodness, I wonder how I actually got up, you know, and you're sort of
Yeah,
trying to catch up
apparently.
with
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
That's
Well, I've
pretty,
wondered that about us, Marianne. I've wondered how we got here. So there we go. And I'm pretty sure it's for some very good reason. So
really, well, we've known each other about 20 years, Mary. I
I know
wonder, well, I was wondering when we are ever going to do something together, so here we are.
it's pretty good. I suspect there's more that we can do.
Yes, yes, all right, my
I
dear.
wonder what it is.
I wonder what it is. Yeah, that's it. Really neat, isn't it?
All
And
right. Well,
yeah, yeah. So I wonder, I wonder, I wonder. And if you say it often enough, I live in a wonderful world, then yeah, it does lift your spirit, Mary.
mm, It does indeed. I feel quite uplifted, so thank you for that. We talked about some nitty-gritty subjects of change, and then you uplifted us to a wonderful space. Thank you,
Thank you.
Marianne.
You're welcome. Have a beautiful day.
Okay, cheers.